Since the Prince and Princess of Wales shared the happy news about Princess Catherine now ending chemotherapy and seeming to be cancer-free, they released this beautiful video, but it's gotten pushback. It always seems to happen this way. But Piers Morgan recently hosted a panel with two supposedly royal experts and Tom Bower, the investigative journalist who I talk about often, and they're discussing this issue as well as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle trying to release the Polo update just 100 minutes after the Prince and Princess of Wales' video. So today I want to react to that panel. I think it's a fascinating discussion around this topic, but they also bring up the topic of classical femininity. They didn't call it that, but they talk about this, which is something that we talk about quite often on our channel. So I want to jump into that and more. Don't forget to subscribe, y'all. I am doing a 10,000 subscriber giveaway. We might already be at this point by the time that I post this, but as a special thank you, I'm doing a giveaway for a special diamond pair of earrings by Ana Lucia Beltran Diamonds. And you just have to let me know that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel by clicking below or going to theswishcompany.com/giveaway. So let's jump into this. I personally really appreciate Piers Morgan. I don't agree with him on everything, but he has changed his mind on a lot over the last few months and years, and I think he's turning a really good direction. I really appreciate his work and his desire to have really open and uncensored conversations, just like Piers Morgan's name of his show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. So let's jump in here.
It's been a wretched year for Catherine, the Princess of Wales. There was Kate's conspiracy, the botched Mother's Day photograph, months of vicious and unfounded rumours about her marriage, and most seriously of all, of course, she was diagnosed with cancer. But this week, to everyone's great relief, she announced that she's now through chemotherapy and is currently cancer-free.
Yeah, one thing...
To an end.
Mute this while I talk about this. One thing that I didn't really touch on in my video about her announcement was the framing of when they released this, because there were a lot of horrible rumors back in March. The last time she tried to do something engaging, it was totally criticized because of her Photoshop skills. So it was very important that they released this right. I think they did it right. I'm really happy about the way that they gave us a peek inside their life. So anyways, just wanted to touch on that. I'm glad that he mentioned that here.
I'm being loved.
Of course, these days we're not allowed to have nice things. Social media critics and some commentators called it contrived, a cringe fest, and perhaps the most damning critique of all, like something Harry and Meghan would do. As you might imagine, I disagree. In a late entry for the most tasteless and despicable deed of the summer, Harry and Meghan released an advertisement for their new documentary about polo, the world's most elite sport, just 90 minutes after Kate's announcement. Well, joining me now to discuss all this is royal historian Tessa Dunlop, lawyer and commentator Paula Rowan-Adrian, and author of Revenge, Meghan, Harry and the War Between the Windsors, Tom Bower. Well, welcome to all of you. First of all, I've seen you all since the end of the long, hot summer. Tom, let me start with you, because it was an extraordinary way to make us...
If you've not read Tom's book, Revenge, the investigative report on Harry and Meghan, it's so good. I talk about it a lot here on this channel, so go check that out.
I've never seen anything quite like it from a member of the royal family, where we have this 3-minute, highly produced, movie-quality film. But at the heart of it, as I wrote in The Sun, was a princess laying herself open and saying, I've realised what is really important in life is loving and being loved. And the film certainly showed that with her husband, and her kids. But what did you make of it?
Well, it was...
Before he answers, I completely agree. I think the difference between Meghan and Catherine in this way is that Catherine, I think, is being really genuine about it, and she's just showing her life as it is. Meghan just comes across really contrived to me when she tries to do stuff like this. So just let me know in the comments if you agree.
Rushing, it was beautifully made, and it was unique in the sense we've never seen anything like that before, the British royal family. But I think the public mood towards Catherine is so beneficent. Everyone loves her and wants her to survive and prosper and be the future queen, that if that is the way she wants to reintroduce herself, everything is forgiven. And I thought there was nothing nasty about it. There was nothing over the top. It was just, this is how I want to be known. And that's fine. I thought, therefore, I liked it, and Everything Catherine does, in my view, is okay.
I found it very moving, but
I think it's a dangerous place to be, although I agree that, anything Catherine does is great. They are in a position that we should be critical of them, although it's very hard to criticize Catherine because she's just really good at not putting a foot out of line. So I would agree with that statement, but I also don't think that anybody's above reproach.
because I think she's a young woman in her early 40s who's, we don't know what cancer it is, but it must have been serious, whatever this is, because it's taken her out of action now for most of the year. She hasn't given any commitment to do any more engagements this year. She may or may not, she says. And, I know somebody at the moment with terminal cancer, and we all know people who've been touched by cancer. It is an appalling thing when it's someone going through this, both physically but also mentally and emotionally for everyone. Tessa, though, if you read what Daily Mail columnist Liz Jones said, she said about the video...
Why does she look so angry? Tessa Dunlop. She just... Every time they point to her, she's glaring, or... I've watched a lot of interviews with her, and I don't know, she always seems mad.
...is messy, imperfect, shattering. After all the mental health initiatives, her work stressing the importance of shaping young minds, this strange, odd film seemed a misfire from a family once so protective of their privacy. And Melanie McDonough in The Standard wrote, "Forgive me, was it necessary to share this news with the nation in such an utterly grisly video? It's as if she was advertising herbal essences, shampoo."
The shampoo comment, he's reading a Daily Mail article that was extremely critical of this video. That just seems so stupid to me, and just like looking for anything that you could find to be wrong with it. Like, oh, well, Meghan has nice hair. It's a shampoo advertisement. What do they want? I don't understand.
What do you think of that criticism?
Well, it's interesting. It depends where you believe the key role of monarchy is. And given that they are the future, the touchstone, if you like, and all eyes are on her internationally as well, I thought it was the most extraordinary advert for Englishness. It was a golden summer that I didn't experience. I mean, you went overseas.
Well, I did. I was in Italy and France.
Those of us hunkered down in Britain. So on the one hand, it was a brilliant advert for the nation. So well done, Kate. I'm sure the English Tourist Board are currently raking it in. But there is a disconnect, and I think the reason there's a disconnect is because this is a very different version of monarchy that places family in the smallest sense of the word first, and monarchy, the institution, second. What Kate's basically saying is, this is what I value the most, and it's my family, and everything else, including being a part of an institution of state, takes very much a back seat.
Now, she's going to speak more to this, but I think that's why people like Catherine. They love her because she's putting her family first. For so long, it seems like, I believe that Queen Elizabeth was a loving mother, but she did not have a good relationship with Charles. There's, that video of him shaking her hand and being very stoic, and I think they got along much better than, like historians like to say, or we've seen press-wise. So she's right in the fact that this is a brand new angle for the monarchy. However, and she'll speak to this more in a minute, if she wants for it to be either a video of her, she'll actually say, going and shaking hands with cancer patients, or, being in more of the role of the monarch, that's not a good connection for young people. And also, our culture wants to take down anything that is not something that we can relate to. We don't like things that are beautiful or unobtainable, or beautifully unobtainable, because we want for everyone to be able to relate to things. But historically, that's never been how people want to present themselves. That's why cultures for centuries built these beautiful churches and monasteries, and their architecture was glorious because they were trying to point to something bigger than themselves and more beautiful. And I think that, this typical English summer that Tessa's talking about is an effort to do that. Obviously, that's not how everybody lives. Obviously, they don't even live that way. Their summer has been horrible, and Catherine spoke to that in her statement. But I think this idea that everything needs to be as real as possible and a reflection of reality is not the way to do things. If you think about Hollywood stars, they originally were positioned to be something greater than ourselves, something that everyone was trying to obtain. Not that they were necessarily greater than ourselves, but they were representative of something for us to strive for. And I think we've lost that here. So I'll speak more to that in a moment.
I did wonder how the late Queen would have responded to the public display of affection.
Well, okay, so Paul, let's talk about that, because the Queen, apart from the fact we'll come to it, there's been the world's worst statue of the Queen released today in Antrim in Melbourne, just quite extraordinary thing in Northern Ireland. Let's part that horror story to one side. People are saying the Queen would never have done it. Interestingly, towards the end of her life, the Queen started doing some stuff, the Paddington Bear film. Yes. The Daniel Craig.
Yeah, and I think somebody commented on one of my videos lately and said, well, you know, Queen Elizabeth sat with Paddington Bear. How dare you make fun of Meghan Markle for going on Ellen or having a sense of humor? Those are two completely different things. Paddington Bear is a representative icon of British culture now to some extent, and so she's celebrating that heritage. It's different when you act like a cat or drink from a baby bottle. I think Piers is right. The Queen really began to open up a little bit more, but that's really a cultural shift. And I think in order to engage with the younger generation, William and Catherine have to open up a little bit more. But this also wasn't in their own home. This wasn't a reality series. This was out in the beautiful forest of Norfolk. So it is a celebration, I think, similarly to Paddington Bear.
Things we would never have expected her to ever deign to do. She was beginning to relax herself in terms of the kind of content she was prepared to put out, recognizing that in this kind of Instagram-friendly world we now live in, if you want to get to the eyeballs you want to get to preserve the monarchy, you maybe got to get in this game a bit.
Yes, but if the point of this video was to control the narrative, which is what we hear a lot about, don't we? I have to say I'm confused, because when I watched the video, I was befuddled. I couldn't understand the words I was hearing with then what I was seeing. What I was seeing was, as you said yourself, Piers, something that was very well produced, very slick, very polished. And it was almost like a show, because on the one hand, we had...
I think I've been thinking about the production value of this video and how it compares to, you know, like Harry and Meghan's TV. And yes, you know, it is scripted. It's a voiceover of Catherine reading her statement, but that it's very genuine in the way that she says it. It's not contrived. Like, the scene that comes to mind is Meghan and Harry when they're putting up Easter decorations in their house in the Harry and Meghan docuseries. That's contrived. This is intentionally promotional or produced. It's a very different element here, and so let's keep hearing what she says.
George going up to the camera in his cute, cheeky way and saying, is this rolling? Well, we know it's rolling, and we know that you've got 6 cameramen standing behind you, etc. And on top of that, honest to God, when I finished watching it, I wanted to know who the producer was, because I assumed that this was an Archwell production.
Okay, that's stupid. Will Witt, by the way, is the same guy, the guy who produced that video. He is a London-based videographer. Mainly he started in the wedding business, doing wedding videos, but he also did the coronation video, if you remember that, behind the scenes that Buckingham Palace released. He also did the 10th anniversary video, which was actually very similar, if you remember William and Catherine. It didn't have a voiceover, but it was very similar. I think Louis was like 2 at the time. He was 2 or 3, but, you know, they were on the seesaw, they were over a campfire running around Norfolk. I believe it was Norfolk again. So Will Witt is a staple in their new PR, but now, when have we seen an Archwell production like this? I don't agree with that.
Because this looked like a Harry and Meghan.
It was that bad, you mean?
Well, I'm not suggesting that that's why you might think it was bad. I'm saying that it was very glossy, very California, very let's run barefoot in the sand. And that, to me, didn't represent what the message I understood wanted to be
someone posted
across.
on X, as Liz Jones reported, this isn't what cancer looks like. Other sufferers will feel, well, I'm doing it all wrong. Others commented, why are the wardrobe changes, the soft music, the slow motion?
Yeah.
It was intended to show they're a happy family, but you have to try this hard. ...
Hang on.
Again, this reminds me of what I was talking about having something to strive for rather than a base reality and a summary of what is currently happening.
1 minute. Let's just cut the woman some slack. We were like braying animals at the bars when she released a homespun photograph with a little bit of tweaking here and there.
Yeah.
So can you blame her for going all out schmaltz and taking a leaf out of the oh-so-Californian book? To be fair...
I actually agree with Tessa here. I think Catherine was probably very nervous about how to release something with this statement after the scrutiny she had last time. But I don't agree that this is Californian by any means. I think it's just good production. If that equals Californian, then oh dear.
Totally understand why this was choreographed to within 1 inch of its life. It's what we asked.
But then compare it with the video that we had at the end of March. Forgive me if I'm incorrect about that date. In this video, Piers, I didn't see Catherine. What I saw was something that felt like an actress using the words of Catherine. And that I thought was very interesting because, as I said, I wondered whether this was about having some kind of polished, controlling the narrative exercise rather than Catherine being able to say, everyone, I've made it through this very difficult hurdle and I'm on to the next stage. I would also question some of the wording that was used. For example, I'm here holding your hand, other cancer sufferers. I would have thought we would have seen that. I
feel like that would have been intrusive for other cancer fighters. I don't know about that. And yeah, that's weird to me, honestly.
We would have seen Catherine.
I mean, literally see her with other cancer patients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but see, but I would take issue with that because when I read that last line, I thought what I liked about it, and we'll come to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex element of this, but everything they do, in my opinion, and we can argue about this, is self-aggrandizing. It's to promote themselves. It's to do, whatever they want to do.
This was the charity work. This was work with Invictus.
This was a princess laying herself bare and saying, I understand that there are a lot of people...
Yeah, it's an interesting angle because really, actually, you want to have this be about Catherine's journey and Catherine's experience, and that's the point at the end of the day. As important as it is to highlight others, which is what William and Catherine do every single day, all the time. That's pretty much all they do. This is Catherine's statement, and no matter what she does, she's going to get criticism. But the difference between this and then Harry and Meghan is Harry and Meghan are always trying to push some angle of how can we utilize this to get funding for Archewell? How can we have it be a PR spin on our own struggles? How can we use this to sell something? So it's very different, very, very different.
Out there with cancer. And I just want you to know that I'm metaphorically here with you. That's why I'm doing this. I want to shine a light on cancer and everything else. I thought that was powerful. Isn't that actually the duty and role of the monarchy? Is that the senior players do, even though we know they live in palaces, we know they have servants, we know they have all the trinkets, ultimately they put a kind of metaphorical arm around and say, we're with you. They're like the country's comfort blanket.
I totally agree. And that was the issue. That was the juxtaposition for me, because I was hearing these words and I was confused.
I think what comes to mind in this conversation at this point, I think with Paula, is you watch these kinds of videos with a perspective. It's a confirmation bias already. If you are a lover of Harry and Meghan, you're going to watch this and already think that it's just a ploy to be seen, to make the monarchy be seen as a really great institution. And you probably agree with Meghan and Harry, or I know these two do. And so it seems like confirmation bias to be splitting words like this, that, oh, well, they need to be actually more engaged with charities, and this is all about her. On the same side, I will say I think that easily can happen with Harry and Meghan, where we are already, we're waiting. We know that they're going to be doing something self-aggrandizing. So I think it's an interesting juxtaposition in these videos of seeing how the analysis of it really comes from a place of what you already see as Harry and Meghan's perspective on whatever issue it is, or William and Catherine's. And that's kind of life. People do that. But I just try to filter that through myself when I'm listening to these things.
As to, okay, I mean, I've got family members who have thankfully survived their cancer journeys. It didn't look anything like that. And that's not to say that Catherine's journey needs to look like my family member's journey.
It doesn't matter that her journey doesn't look like other people's. It's meant as an opportunity to raise people up, to encourage them, to inspire them that it's going to be okay. She's encouraging them. It's not helpful to encourage someone to tell the gritty details of how horrible it was, or get really dramatic about it. This is meant to be an uplifting opportunity to see that she's come out on the other side. That's all it really is.
Somebody else's
Tom, is that a fair?
No, because you don't know what the journey was like.
And I'm accepting
what
that.
we're seeing is the end of the journey, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what
And she wanted to reintroduce herself to the public. I thought it was very, very wonderful to see the happy family. I think they have to appeal to the youth of Britain, who are not natural monarchists. They wanted to show that they were.
I did a whole video on this. If you haven't seen that, it's all about the new PR strategy. This is exactly right, because my generation, Gen Z, is the least interested in a monarchy. Whether or not you're a monarchist, that's kind of, whatever. I'll do a video on that at some point, maybe. But if you are trying to reach the next generation, as William and Catherine are, you have to use these new mediums and engage in new ways. And authenticity is a huge part of that for millennials and Gen Z. And if they're going to be welcomed in and engaging, who knows how many years Charles has left. I pray that it's many, but they need to be prepared and in a good PR position for that. And I think this was actually an effort to aid that.
Family again. And what's the alternative? That she should sit and do a piece to camera, po-faced? I mean, how should she?
Well,
to not pan.
But what about I have seen the criticism
pander.
that if she talked about holding the hands of everyone who's got cancer, maybe having some footage of her actually with
do
other
that
people.
another time. She clearly hasn't got over it. She's got through the chemo.
I will say, too, that that's pretty much all that Catherine does. Every engagement, every appearance, she's holding hands, kissing babies, trying an experiment, making things with kids, or at hospice care. Like, that's actually her entire job. So if they wanted to make a statement that's different than anything else, then this would be the way to do it. You wouldn't want to put what her typical daily job is in this announcement. It's my assessment.
There's a lot more to go.
It'll be 5 years before any doctor says
You're out of
cured.
remission.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All she wanted to do was sound back. Last time she did it with the photo, she was criticised. She's criticised whatever she does.
Yeah.
That's the terrible thing about this discussion. She can't get it right for some people.
But actually...
For me, she can only get it right because she is the future of the monarchy. And if that is the way she is advised to reintroduce herself, if that is the way in which, in this beautiful film, schmucky but lovely, that is the way to
Funny
get
enough,
people...
I think it was all from her.
I don't think it was schmucky.
The real feeling is she wasn't advised to do it this way. She decided...
Well, she chooses her advisors. And her advisors give her what she wants and then translate it into that film. I think that's fine. I think, she has got to imagine, and I think this is right from her point of view, she's got to take the monarchy on to the next stage. She's got to anticipate that there's a whole...
I think, to his point, there is so much that comes directly from Catherine. We kind of assume it's the men in gray suits, as Diana said, but there's a new era here. Meghan, had a hard time with that, but there's been a lot of research and stories written lately about how Catherine's pushed back on a lot of her duties because she wants to be with her children. She's taking a stand, which is, very different than what her sister-in-law or her mother-in-law did. She hasn't run away, and she hasn't been forced into a position of having to do that all the time because she stood her ground. And I think that's just her personality. And thank goodness William married somebody who has that kind of a quality and a grit. That's the word I'm looking for.
2 generations.
And young people, the monarchy's getting slightly less popular, right, as the years go by.
It's bombed out.
Well, it's getting slightly less popular. They are the big stars
Yeah.
of this royal family. All the polls show that William and Kate are the top two most popular by a mile in this
Why is she
country.
shaking her head like
And
that?
the bottom three, Prince Andrew, Harry, Meghan.
I appreciate that you are.
I
how
didn't
you're
put
choosing
them
your words
there.
very carefully.
They're there because of their behaviour,
say
as
you
I've tried to
didn't,
tell
but,
you.
you know.
You can't kid the public for that long. So
If
they're
the public are being given one particular piece of
Right, but
information,
let's remind
and that
that-
particular piece of information is being repeated consistently.
This is where they make this argument that Harry and Meghan are hated because of what the press says about them. I did a whole video about this too. Who cares what the press has to say? Because of the role of X and social media, people can make their own opinions now. They can look at the data, they can factually analyze the evidence and come to their own conclusions. That's what people are doing. They're looking at what Meghan and Harry have done and thinking, that does not line up right. So, okay, that's fine, you two. Yes, it's the fault of the press that Meghan and Harry are hated. I disagree because I believe in free speech.
People get judged on their own actions, actually.
Well, if they did get judged on their own actions,
Let's come to them in a moment. I want to make a point, though, Tessa, about this. The king still has cancer.
Yeah.
We don't know how serious that is. He's been seen out and about. But, you're 75, you've got cancer. That's pretty serious. So we don't know how long he will be with us. I mean, I hope for a very long period of time. But if, God forbid, he suddenly deteriorated and wasn't with us, William is suddenly propelled to be the king of his country, and Kate will be his queen. And the future of the monarchy, as Tom said, rests on their shoulders.
But I actually thought, and I want to go back to the set dressing, timeless England, a forest, the ancient oak.
Yeah.
This idea of a land that will endure irrespective of who monarchy is. And we see several options.
Isn't that the point? This is what I was saying earlier, that the entire set is, she calls it a set, the forest, the setting of this video is meant to be something so much bigger than ourselves. Yes, the video is about Catherine, encouragement to others who are struggling that way and others who are worried about her, but it is reflective on the nature of the environment, which is something that Catherine and William are so, they were calling her Kate, William and Catherine are so passionate about. So,
We see young George. Oh, he talks. Oh,
Yeah.
he's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. We see William loving his wife, sickly or otherwise, and Charles is in the background. This is about the future and beyond. What disturbed me slightly, and here there were echoes with American Riviera Orchard, is the way in which the two...
American Riviera Orchard, that we still don't know what it is or what it does, okay, great. If you think that being outside is a connection to that, sure.
leading female protagonists, Kate and Meghan, are taking us way back when to the 1950s. Meghan with her mixing bowl and flowers, Kate skipping through cornfields, the sort of fecund mother, making a recovery just to be loving and loved, and maybe a little bit of light work. And actually, I don't think that is representative of the standard woman who gets cancer, who's a mother, and who's also having to bushfight on other fronts. And
Okay, again, let me talk about this for a second. Tessa, this is not supposed to be for every single woman. This is supposed to be an encouragement and something to look up to. It's not supposed to be for every woman. This idea of both Meghan and Catherine being 1950s women because they are just stirring a bowl or running through the cornfields in a dress is fascinating, because you clearly haven't studied anything that Meghan Markle has been perpetuating in terms of her approach to feminism. She doesn't want to give women opportunities the way that I believe Catherine would, and what Catherine has advocated for. Meghan's talked a lot about the importance of just having women in government for the sake of having women in government. She believes that, we need to have equal women on every board, that women just need to be represented. However, that's not what Catherine believes in. I believe Catherine is an opportunity feminist, as am I. It's very different. Just because someone's cooking, that doesn't mean you're a 1950s wife. And I don't think that's the narrative that either one of them is trying to say. I actually think there's a lot of women today that are returning back to desiring to build a home and a confident family structure, because we've seen the deterioration of families, and they want to, find a safe place and raise children in a place that is loved, just like what Catherine is talking about. So I disagree with that.
wanted something that spoke to modern women today, and neither of our Meghan or Kate
Did you want a shot of her in hospital getting the tablet, the chemotherapy tablet?
No, but it was very old-fashioned. It
wasn't old-fashioned. It wasn't old-fashioned because the Queen would never have done it. It was very modern, and she showed a modern family. I don't know what you mean about the journey. She's gone through it. She's clearly had the most horrendous time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she wants to show some hope. And I think that's what the country wants. They want to see that the royal family offers hope again, is back in business, so to speak. It isn't terminal as it appeared 6 months ago.
Well, I agree. And let's mention the second part of this, which is literally 90 minutes. I count. Oh, it was 100 minutes.
Here we
It was
go.
100 minutes later. Netflix drop a promo for the new Archewell Productions documentary series about polo. And up it came on everyone's social media. And look, there's three things you could say about this in terms of what was behind this.
I love this breakdown.
One, it was a complete and utter coincidence that 100 minutes after this major revelation and announcement and film from Kensington Palace, by pure chance, Netflix, Meghan and Harry decide that is the moment to promote a series that doesn't air until December. The chances of that, I would say, are No Hope and Bob Hope. And Bob Hope has been dead for many years. Secondly, they did it to draw attention away from their rival palace, from the sibling that Harry hates and doesn't talk to, from the sister-in-law that Meghan hates and doesn't talk to, and vice versa. Or that thirdly, they wanted to, and this is probably my preferred theory, they wanted to capitalise on all the publicity around the Kate announcement by saying, boom, by the way, don't forget about us. Now, interestingly, Paula, you might recoil in horror because you never like to be brought.
One thing that I talked about in that video is the timestamps on this. She'll say in a minute, oh, well, it's because they've planned this out for months. Yeah, well, if you plan it out for months and then you schedule it, then it's going to probably be right on the hour, right at 11 o'clock, right at noon, 12:30. So it's very curious. I agree with Piers. I think the third option makes the most sense because even if you had planned to have it come out, wouldn't you want to take a look? I know there's PR people that are constantly looking at the Netflix narrative and making sure that it's going to go over well. So if you know that that's coming out shortly and you see headline news all around the world saying that Catherine has a big announcement, you're not going to want to put that out because that's actually going to be bad press for you, which is exactly what's happened here. So first of all, they would have analyzed that. Second of all, look at the timestamps. And I agree with Piers. The third one is the only one that makes any sense.
Closely to reality with these two.
Wow.
About just how cynical they can be. But interestingly, it completely bombed. The next day's papers barely mentioned at all this polo series, nor did any other publications I saw around the world. It was all front page on Kate and William. Why do they do this kind of thing?
Well,
and the moment Netflix did it, even if it was an accident, why wouldn't the first thing you would do is ring them and say, please take that down? That's just going to backfire.
Well, I'm going to suggest that you're incredibly cynical when it comes to Harry and Meghan.
Very, very
and
cynical.
Anything they do.
Yes.
And I'm also...
If you study anything that they've done, unfortunately, you become really cynical. But again, it kind of is the worldview that you're looking at this from. Although you got to look at the facts. Facts don't lie.
And I'm also going to suggest that your grasp on reality, because of your cynicism, means that it's waning. Let's be honest, Piers, because the fact is, you know that when you come to market a show, it is done months in advance. This is not about Harry and Meghan.
Do you think it was pure coincidence?
This is not about... No, I don't think it was coincidence. I think the date...
Deliberate?
I think the date had always been set for when Netflix were going to first advert. Of course.
You want to take a bet on that?
And I can give you an example.
You want to bet on that?
No, I don't, because I don't know.
No, you don't.
No, but can I give you an example?
Even a pound?
Can I give you an example?
You don't.
Can I give you an example?
Because you know it's nonsense.
Work with me with my example. Bear with me. Control the cynicism. I am going to be in a show. That show does not come out until October. It was advertised from April of this year.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. You, of course, always should have promotions that are months in advance for anything you're working on. But basic PR is look at the environment that you're talking to or announcing in. So that was very poorly done. That's all I'll say. And also, a lot of other Netflix shows have not had this kind of strategy. So I think there probably would have been a much larger announcement and some pre-launch strategies around this big polo show if they wanted it to do well. But like Piers said, it wasn't even on the front page.
That's not my point.
Yes,
My point.
it is.
Let me bring in Tom for a reality check.
Yes, it is, because
Tom, you and I have been around the media block a little
point.
longer than young Paula. Hope you don't mind me calling you that. I'm sure you love
Very
it.
happy.
Everything's relative.
Tom, is there any world in which this just happened by
Absolutely
chance?
not. It was quite. Someone heard about it. He said, because the only raison d'etre of the Sussexes is to capitalise on their royal connections.
Right.
And the royal connections have got to be to associate themselves with
That's such a good point. This is actually the perfect example of how Meghan and Harry can't stand on their own 2 feet. They have to utilize launches like what William and Catherine have done in order to get any kind of promotion. And that's why we've seen them do this 10, 15 times, where they're overstepping the announcements or the events that William and Catherine have. I mean, American Riviera Orchard was announced on the night of the Diana Awards, where William was giving the award. Their Christmas cards were announced at weird times when Catherine's doing her carols. It's just, I talked about this extensively on this channel, but it's just odd. It's very odd that there would be so many coincidences.
But what does it say about them that they would be happy for this promotion to go out within 2 hours of such a personal film about cancer from Kate?
They are just remorseless, selfish, false, ghastly couple who only believe in promoting themselves because that, in the end, is their only source of money. And what is very interesting in all this, which has never got commented on, that when Harry came back to England for Robert Fellowes' his uncle's funeral 2 weeks ago, he didn't go up to see his father.
No, stay with them.
Yeah, we're we're going to talk about this at some point, but this is a great point. Harry whines about security. He whines about his reputation. He could have just had a private life. And this last week when he went to his uncle's funeral back in the UK, it's a great example of that.
But he could have gone up to Scotland. I
Yeah.
mean, the man who dashed over when it was all announced, he forgot about his dad. And so the whole thing is always
And also, he
contrived.
managed to come and go without any threat to his
Let me just
life.
finish. No threat to his
in relation
life.
to this ongoing
Everything
security.
about the
that's what I just
Sussexes is so contrived, so self-interested, so unbelievably appalling.
Yeah.
That
It's amazing to me, though, that to be that self-interested, they are not analyzing the conversation before they add to it. Look at Tessa. That's a funny picture of her right there. What is she doing?
I can only imagine that they really wish Kate and William ill.
Yes.
That's the wrong.
It's like,
Quite
goodness me, I think that's
extraordinary is
very
that you've
unfair.
Just levelled the accusation of Harry and Meghan as being contrived in the same breath as you admit Kate can basically do what she likes, and yes, you said it was schmaltzy, etc., i.e. highly contrived.
Here's the difference.
So in other words,
Hang on.
One
Kate
thing I'll
can-
say, though, to that point is that William and Catherine represent something right now that's so much bigger than themselves. That's their job. They represent the entire monarchy and a lineage of centuries and centuries of monarchs and the continuation of that. Meghan and Harry, they only represent themselves right now. That's it. So Kate can do what she wants, but she has a whole lot more riding on it than Meghan and Harry.
Tessa, here's the difference. Kate's film is about her cancer.
Her
She's
truth. Her truth.
Oh my gosh, this
No,
part.
it is her truth.
No, no.
It's
Okay,
her version.
about
people
her-
who say that's my truth, I'm sorry, there's only one type of truth, so just goodness. It's such an out. You can just be like, oh, well, that's what's right for them. No. Sorry.
She has cancer.
Yes.
She's not inventing
Yes.
it.
No, I'm not
right?
suggesting she
When people
is.
talk about my truth, it normally means it's not the truth.
No, but
right?
it's-
There is the truth. It's not her truth.
It's part of the story.
No, it's not. It's a fact
is
she
she
has
saying?
cancer.
It's a-
Okay?
But we don't know what cancer.
And it's a fact
So
she's
what?
had chemotherapy. We know a lot more about what's happened to her than we normally do about royal health issues. But here's the difference. She's making no money out of this.
Oh,
She makes.
Piers.
Well, hang on. Let me finish my point. This is a very personal thing about her health
great
because she's the
point.
future queen, and we've been demanding to know. Meghan and Harry's video or their promo for their documentaries is a pure money-making exercise, trading off their royal titles to fill their coffers with more ill-gotten cash. That's why Tom and I are so cynical about it, because we see through.
It's because this has happened so many times over and over again. I don't know why Tessa's reacting that way. The only reason that they're announcing these things is because that's their new business venture. They're trying to make money this way. And it's always tied back to some kind of money thing. It's fascinating if you study it.
I don't know how you get on with basic arithmetic, but since the late Queen acceded to the throne, followed by Charles, the value of the Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall put together, and William now, of course, is Duke over the Duchy of Cornwall, has increased in value 16-fold.
That's such a non sequitur. Why would you say that? Like, okay, yes, since the Queen, or since Charles ascended to the throne, they've made a lot more money. Okay, but that's also the crown. Yes, I know the Duchy of Lancaster is run by William, but like, okay, that's very different than peddling your connections to royalty to sell dog treats. Like, that's totally different. Such a bait and switch from her, my goodness.
So what?
Billion
So what?
pounds worth of profit.
So what?
Exempt of capital gains, exempt of corporation,
what?
which, by the way, would cover...
And Catherine was not walking around in that video saying that we should go support the ventures of the Duchy of Lancaster. That's not at all what happened. But in Meghan's videos, it's always about... Literally, the Archwell post was about going and watching the Polo video, or the Polo show. Like, that's a direct call to action. There was no call to action in Catherine's video.
The entire winter fuel duty. It's not nonsense.
It is.
Tom, it is 100.
What's your point? What's your point?
My point is, Kate does not have to worry about money.
Well,
and in fact, after we've experienced the Labour budget, which I think will attack inherited wealth, the only people who will be entirely untouched by New Reality Britain will be the royal family.
What does that have to do with what Meghan and Harry did?
Because you have accused them of trying to make money and Kate not trying to make money. Because Kate doesn't need to make money.
It's all about motivation. Catherine didn't put out that video because she wants to make money. Harry and Meghan did. Pretty basic. I don't know why this is confusing.
They said when they left England that they wanted nothing to do with the royal family.
Correct.
They said that they were going to look for their privacy and look for a completely solitary life in California.
Right.
And then all they've done since reaching California is attach themselves to the royal family. They're phony tours.
Well, they've done two things. They've attached themselves to the royals as much as they can to profit from being royals.
That's the only thing that they can do at this point, because nothing else has been successful. And they don't have a work ethic. They don't have good ideas for the efforts that they want to have. It's all a copy of something else, or horrible ideas, like Prince Harry wanting to interview Putin and Trump about their childhood traumas. Good luck.
Same time, relentlessly attacking the members of the royal family and the monarchy.
But you've just accused them of leeching onto the royal family, and then in the same breath, 2 seconds ago, you said he didn't even go to Balmoral to see his father.
I remember Harry's leaving.
It's all about their marketing and how they're making money. It's not about if they actually care. A lot of the communication we probably do not know. We don't know if they called Prince Harry on his birthday today. We don't know anything like that. I know that they put out a post for him, which is great. But who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Who's sending texts to who and who's communicating? Like, we just know face value what's going on.
I remember
that is not a contradiction.
I remember Harry's leaving very different from yours.
Either he cares about his father or he doesn't. Yeah. And the whole point about this...
So what about his father saying that he didn't have time in his diary to see him?
Well, because the whole thing was contrived by Harry. He wasn't...
Yeah, I don't think that actually happened at all. If you go and look at the paper trail with that, I think that's what Harry said. I think he said that there was no time and his father couldn't fit him into his schedule. I'm sure Charles would have made time if he could, but I don't know that he knew that Harry was coming, and I think that was just a statement they put out because they were maybe just assuming. This is when, I think it was Invictus Games, that Harry was last over here before the funeral. Yeah, you got to give notice, and you got to actually ask.
You know why, Paula? I'm told on very good authority, I won't say who told me this, that there are the vast majority now of the royal family, almost all of them, almost without exception, don't want to have anything to do with Meghan and Harry.
You know what I bet? I bet that's Beatrice and Eugenie. because he is very close with Beatrice. Just, Piers Morgan, they go to lunch, so I'm sure he's got intel. And that's one of the reasons I actually like Piers' takes on this, because I think he is a lot closer to the situation than we think.
Don't trust them not to repeat what they tell them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you as a fact.
Let's go back to the question, which was about Harry and Meghan being able to earn money. My memory of
Which, by the way, I'm going to add to that. You've not seen Eugenie be anywhere near Harry and Meghan. In the beginning when they moved to California, she would visit often. They were in communication. They might still be in communication, but public-facing, she's got nothing to do with them anymore.
Is very different from yours, Tom. My memory of Harry and Meghan leaving was that Harry had asked if he could do certain things and stay as a member of the royal family. And I understand that he was not able to stay as a member of the royal family and do those things.
You're not unique to you. Everyone knows that.
He had to leave.
He didn't have to leave.
Yes,
he did not have to leave.
He could have stayed and done his duty.
He could have stayed and done his duty.
He didn't.
Which is, by the way, what goes with the royal title.
So that he didn't.
I think this is really when you see Piers and Tom turn on the women. And it, maybe not turn on, but you see those lines be divided even more clearly here. Because these are kind of a recollections may vary situation.
Meghan was safe. So he had to leave.
That's nonsense.
And when he made the decision to leave, and Tom, with respect, I allowed you to speak, and you're now.
She was literally in doubt.
Oh my gosh, why does everybody do the Kamala Harris? I'm speaking. Like, that's just so rude. I know people do that, but I feel like there's a rise in people saying that lately. It's so annoying.
Guitar last month.
I'll wait for you to finish.
Not safe to come from the UK, but finally go to Colombia.
I'll wait for you to finish.
Do me a favour.
Well, I didn't see the paparazzi hounding her in Colombia
or
in Nigeria.
Where do you think the picture
She also
came?
went to Nigeria.
She didn't let anybody near her except for Harper's Bazaar. And honestly, the Colombians didn't even know who she was. They don't care. So they're not going to be paparazzi that are running around Colombia trying to get pictures of her. There's a lot of interviews of people on the street saying they had no clue who she was. So, yeah.
Are you mocking Colombia and Nigeria?
I'm mocking the fact that they think they're entitled to do rival royal tours, which only promote them when they do zero royal duty.
My understanding
or the
was
monarchy
Nigeria was about Invictus.
On behalf of this country. Nothing.
And that's why they were invited to go.
It's all for themselves.
But coming back to the money point, because I think this is really important, because you hear this all the time. So he left his family, as many people do in difficult circumstances. They make the decision to leave their family.
No problem.
What do you expect him to do to earn money?
Not trade off the institution.
Money.
He has a job as the the Chief Impact Officer at BetterUp. Like, he could do that full time. We would never have to hear anything. He probably would not be making millions and millions of dollars, but the way that they made money is by trading stories about themselves and their family to be lucrative deals. And that's exactly what they're talking about here. They could have gone away and, stepped back. They could have done a role like Zara and Mike Tyndall, where they don't sell off their stories, but they're still very close. That totally could have been a reality, and that's what the Queen wanted, but never in her wildest dreams would she have imagined this.
Not trade off the institution he trashes. They damage the monarchy. Every time they do something, they damage the monarchy, and yet they want to, at the same time, trade off the royal titles.
You're giving him the power to say that he
I would take away their power. I would remove their titles.
No, if you're
if I was King Charles, take the titles away. Try your luck as Harry and Meghan, regular Joes.
What is the
Duke and Duchess of Sussex, members of the royal family,
that you are saying that he has done to the royal family?
Lied and lied from Oprah Winfrey onwards.
No, I'm not saying what you're saying he did. I'm saying what is the damage? Because you have to accept.
What is the damage? People who watch this video probably love the royal family. You probably keep up to date. The majority of the world is not that way. And so if they read a news headline, especially this is what happened around the Oprah interview, everyone who's not involved is reading headlines about the royal family being racist. There's some serious defamation that can happen in this. And if they were to trash, as they've trashed the royal family over and over again, it tarnishes their reputation and it creates unnecessarily unnecessary headlines on both sides, but the palace hasn't spoken ill of Harry and Meghan. So yes, that is a problem. That is a problem for them, and they shouldn't do that.
The royal family.
No, the damage. Let's focus on that word, because you accept
Let me give
that
you an
they are
example.
not popular
Let me give you an
with the
example.
younger
Let me
population.
give you an example.
I would like to explain
What
the
about
damage.
calling them a bunch of callous racists without any evidence?
The damage
Where
they've
is
done.
the damage?
Paula,
What is the damage?
What about through the Commonwealth, the damage for calling them racist?
The damage. Can I explain what I perceive to be Piers and
The
Tom from a
issue
different
about
generation?
colonialism goes far further than Harry and Meghan.
But they
Piers,
said
and
it
you know
wasn't
that.
true.
Where is the
Far
evidence
further
for the
than that.
racism? There isn't any.
These two old crusties, what they love more than anything in the world
crusties, wow.
is the monarchy.
Surprised you
And
didn't
Harry-
call them
This has nothing to do with the monarchy, Tessa. This has to do with lying and telling the truth and merching off your family. I think she is trying to make the argument that the older generation just loves the monarchy because that's what's been around for forever. Sorry, I'm 26. This is something that I love. I know that I'm very rare and unique in my generation, but that should not be a reason for people to not like it just because it's old. That's chronological snobbery, honey.
Turn their backs on the monarchy, the Britain's beloved monarchy, and that has wounded dinosaurs
Tessa.
like Piers and Tom.
Tessa.
They're not allowed freedom of choice.
Tessa.
That is the truth,
Tessa.
Paula. They're not allowed to
And
make
that is the damage.
You want them to be like Sophie and Edward.
Tessa.
You know, they couldn't make it in the media world, so they became the
Actually,
beautiful
hugely
Duke and
admiring of
Duchess.
Sophie.
No, Sophie is amazing. Watch my video on her. It wasn't that she couldn't make it. There were a lot of scandals, of course, because she was in the role that she was in, and that's one of the reasons she chose to become a Duke and a Duchess. But that's not a diss. That's not a B plan. That's an amazing opportunity. And Sophie loved the Queen, and I'm sure I know she's very honored to have taken that role. So, what a low blow.
Oh,
Work
I
ethic.
know,
Work
I am too.
ethic.
And I'm too.
On behalf of the country,
But why
yes.
should Harry and Meghan have to be like them?
Because they didn't leave the monarchy.
And they lied.
If they had left the monarchy and given up their titles and gone and been celebrities in California, no problem.
You
right?
want
It's a fact
Harry
they want to have
and
their
Meghan
royal
to go-
cake and eat it.
You want them
they
to-
want to be royals
No.
while dumping on the royals.
They are royals.
Dumping
It's not
on
that
the
they
monarchy.
want to be. Let's be clear. They are
No,
royal.
they're not allowed to use their HRH titles. Sorry, like, in the fact that maybe they're royals in that they're related to the royal family. They are technically a part of a family that is royal, but no.
And what you want them to do is to scurry and hide underneath
I
the
want
rock.
them to stop lying.
They
I
are
want
not
them to
going to
stop
do
lying and
that.
stop
Stop
trashing
lying.
the royal family.
But they haven't lied recently. All they've
Recently?
done is
Oh my God!
No, let's be
Oh
clear.
my God!
Let's be
And by the
clear.
way, what about this priceless nugget to end on? People magazine, which is one of the most gossipy magazines in
Oh
the
my gosh,
world,
I love this
America's #1 gossip magazine, today did a post on X, in which they said that Prince Harry.
They go off on talking about Harry's birthday, but that got the meat a bit out of the way. I'd love to know what you think about this, what you think about the interview, if you like this reaction style. It really is a juxtaposition between the two perspectives here with these women and Tom and Piers. So I'm fascinated by it. I love watching these kinds of royal interviews, and it really is a reflection of what we want to value as a culture, and if we want to be embracing something that's greater than ourselves or something that is just a reflection of the sad world that we're living in. So let me know down below what you think about this video, and don't forget to enter the 10K giveaway. I'm very excited about that. I'm giving away a pair of Ana Lucia Diamond's Limitless Diamond Earrings. So I'll give you more info on when I will be announcing the winner, but all you gotta do is just go through a form and tell me that you are subscribed to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.